The Noob is someone who has never played RuneScape before and still somehow managed to make it through Jagex's extremely convoluted new player experience. This person struggled through Tutorial Island, made it to the mainland, and maybe began one or two of the early quests or adventures suggested by the game upon making it to Lumbridge. Perhaps they've ventured beyond the initial town to visit places like Draenor or Varrock, only to get mauled by a highwayman or zapped down by a dark wizard, respectively. This player might even complete most of the free-to-play quests someday, if they ever log back in to begin with, and have the patience to power through the horrendous run energy replenish time that comes with the game's free tier. The nostalgia bait is similar to the first level, except that they have some history with the game, likely having played it when they were younger during the game's initial run prior to the evolution of combat. This player might actually complete all of the free-to-play quests and want to enjoy the rest of the game, especially if they weren't able to afford the membership growing up. This player might already play RS3 in their free time and just wants a taste of the good old days by checking in with their account on the OG game. After all, a little indulgence in nostalgia never hurt anyone. If this level of player can't get over the free-to-play hurdles in the early game, or never makes the jump to the paid membership, they will most likely never move on to explore the more robust aspects of OSRS that have been released in the recent years that have kept the game alive and made it so great. The Casual AFKer is a player who has made it into the rabbit hole of OSRS, so to speak, but doesn't yet obsess about or possess the propensity to obsess about certain aspects of the game. This is the kind of player who logs on only during their breaks at work on OSRS Mobile to spam barbarian fishing, but not tick manipulating for maximum XP per hour. This player might have a family to tend to and simply can't afford the time required to get into the more difficult or high attention necessitating tasks in the game. These players typically have mid-level accounts, some decent Slayer achievements, maybe some nice untradables unlocked, but nothing too out of the ordinary. The net worth associated with this kind of account would maybe hover around 1 million GP, perhaps they have Slayer Helm or Helm of Nata's not unlocked. They know they need to complete their diaries, but just haven't set aside the time to do them, or haven't cared to focus on leveling a particular skill, not going to mention which one, to be able to complete those achievements. The skill chaser is where many high-level players might describe that the game begins for newer and mid-level players. This is where most of the game's content has been or will soon be unlocked, typically around level 75 for combat stats and 50 for non-combat skills. This player might be well on the path to achieving level 99 in any skill if they haven't already gotten multiples of the easier skills such as cooking or fire making. This player definitely has all of the mid-game essentials unlocked, such as Fire Cape, Barrow's Gloves, Slayer Helmet, Fighter Torso, Dragon Defender, Ava's Accumulator, and at least one Wilderness Mage Arena God Cape unlocked, just to name a few. This player may power through quests using guides on YouTube or the OSRS Wiki, have most of the hard diaries completed, and might even have a lucky pet in a skill or activity that they care about the most. These players will begin dabbling in other aspects of the game beyond just skill training or slaying, likely going for quest cape, achievement hunting, or maybe even trying out some form of PKing. The endgame grinder is someone who is dedicated to the grind. They certainly have over 2,000 total level, if not an already maxed account. Hell, they might even have multiple accounts approaching the endgame, especially if you're someone who likes to multitask while playing. These players may be hunting pets, looking for endgame untradables or mega rare drops. This is especially true if you're an Iron Man or just need money to fund your skilling with a second account. They definitely have a recurring yearly membership tied to their account and are afraid to check their account's age with Hans, fearing the days played may reflect poorly on their psyche. These are the kinds of players that have an almost encyclopedic knowledge of virtually every topic in the OSRS Wiki. They enjoy the luxuries of endgame bossing, items, achievements, and are maybe even on their way to completionist status. They've optimized their Slayer block list to a T, have over 1 billion GP net worth, and at least 1,000 KC on their favorite boss's high scores. They may lead a clan, engage in memery online about the game, and they never miss a poll. The limit pusher is a player who exceeds even the top 1% of players in some aspect, whether it be patience, skill, knowledge, creativity, or any combination thereof. These are the Settleds, the Verfs, the Spine Wielders, and the Rendies of the OSRS world. Far beyond the average player, they push the boundaries of what is even possible in the game, and in doing so add to the incredible collective knowledge base the game has to offer. These are the kinds of folks who contribute to the OSRS Wiki, test the limits of new items on day one releases, push the QA team at Jagex to their limits with borderline bug abuse, and have maybe even gone to 200 million experience in a skill through some odd methodology just to prove a point. Dishonourable mentions are types of players that are actively or passively detrimental to the game in some way or another. Some dishonourable mentions include botters and gold farmers. These people ruin the integrity of the game by flooding the player base with bots, which drastically affect the price of supplies and goods within the game, in addition to ruining the new player experience with a bunch of hollow shell accounts that do nothing but harm the economy. Credit card maxers. These people ruin the integrity of the game by feeding into the bots and gold farmers by enabling them to have a business model to begin with. These are the kinds of players who don't care about the integrity of their account and just want to flaunt an Elysian Spirit Shield at the Grand Exchange. And finally, cape buyers, or basically anything else that breaks in-game rules or real-world laws. These people pay more skilled players to carry them through the challenging parts of the game, to achieve untradeable items that they otherwise wouldn't have access to without performing some kind of real-world trade. Honourable mentions. These are some types of players I wanted to call out that specifically enhance the culture of OSRS in some way or another that may not have necessarily fit into the other tiers. Honourable mentions include fashionscapers, people who just love to style their character out and find interesting combinations of cosmetics through holiday unlocks, achievement capes, and cool minigame items, just to name a few examples. These players are truly enjoying the game. Niche minigamers, people who found their calling in something else like Barbarian Assault, Pest Control, or Soul or Castle Wars. These people are content with whatever comes their way in the game. They've spent more hours in the minigame than the average player has for their whole account's lifetime. High-risk PKers. Players that are so good at PKing that they're willing to risk millions of GP fighting other players to the death. They have some of the highest honors in my books. Guys like Torvesta and Framed live in this tier, and if PKing were more accessible, I think that it would be a much larger part of the player base. Finally, streamers and YouTubers, or content creators in general. Anyone willing to make content for this game deserves a shout out for keeping OSRs relevant throughout the years. Consistent streaming and good YouTube content takes dedication, which most don't have for this game, let alone any aspect of one's life. So many content creators out there are the backbone of this game. This is definitely Slayer Music 1's tier, as without players like him, many of us wouldn't have our Barrow's gloves. Last, but certainly not least, the Zezima tier. These are the players that literally have a legendary status. These are the few and far between people that have left such a lasting impact on the game and community that their likeness may have been added to the game to commemorate or immortalize them in some way. Some examples include, rather obviously, Zezima, who is the first original RuneScape player to have ever maxed an account, but also remarkable players such as Wooks, who, among his many PVM achievements, was the first player to achieve the Inferno cape just 2 days after its release. Lynx Titan, who was the first player to 200 million experience in all skills prior to Sailing's release. Pause, who was the first free-to-play only player to 200 million experience in all free-to-play skills. And even though this isn't OSRS, I figured it was worth shouting out Swomi, who was the first player to 200 million experience in all skills in RS3. Some other examples could be Duriel321, who is infamous for his massacre in Falador on June 6th of 2006, and Homer, the first player to all pets in OSRS as of February 2018. If I didn't include your favorite player in this tier, or anywhere in this list, don't worry, Let me know in the comments what you think of these levels of old school RuneScape players and where you would consider yourself on this list. And don't forget to do your Tears of Guthix this week. Thank you for watching.